This is the Cerberus 12GA. It is, without a doubt, the weirdest gun in the finals. What should just be a normal gun that happens to deal fire damage has some of the most strange and downright stupid interactions in this game for no apparent reason. And today, we're gonna go over the Cerberus, we're gonna talk about the gun, how it works, and how to exploit some of the weird interactions that it has. But before that, if you like this video and want to support the channel, subscribing is the best way to do so. We recently got over the 200 mark, and I really appreciate every single one of you who helped make this dream become a reality. But now, back to the video. So to start off, let's talk about some of the basic stuff and work our way up from there. The Cerberus is a pellet shotgun that deals fire damage after its initial impact. These circles around my reticle show when I'm dealing elemental damage. In this case, fire damage, and each tick represents one tick of damage. Now, because this is fire damage, that means it interacts with goo and gas. Fire in this game causes gas to explode and it causes goo to catch on fire. Now, guns like the flamethrower can take out gas instantly and set all goo on fire. The Cerberus, on the other hand, has to be all weird about it for whatever reason. It takes the gun 3 shots to take out gas, and it won't hurt the goo that you place. It only sets enemy goo on fire. Why? I don't know. And with the gas, having to take it out in 3 shots is just a weird balance choice in my opinion. Like, why can't it take it out in 1 shot? Why can't it? Isn't the whole point of the fire gas interaction is that it only takes one little spark to light the whole thing up? I just don't understand it. But anyways, we're gonna move on from that, and we're gonna talk about the damage of the gun, which I will warn you may actually be useful. So from our testing, the Cerberus does a total of 130 damage with a base damage or non-fire damage of 104. Now the fire damage on the gun is split into 5 ticks, each dealing 5 damage except for whatever reason the middle tick does 6 damage. Why? I couldn't tell. It's just a weird gun. I couldn't tell you. Now these 5 ticks aren't exactly guaranteed, and we can see why on the heavy. When you spam all 3 shots at the heavy, he stays alive. But when you wait a second, on each shot, he dies from the burn damage. This can only mean one thing. The fire damage doesn't stack in between shots. So when I fire 1 shot, then quickly fire another, the first shot will stop dealing tick damage after the second shot is fired, which means that you are losing damage by spamming your shots. But you are gaining DPS. So that raises the obvious question. Can we min-max this? Can we find a balance between maximum damage and maximum DPS? And another important question is it even worth our time to do this? And to find this min-max, it comes down to some simple math. Since the Cerberus has 3 shots and the last one cannot be interrupted, that means we have a guaranteed 130 damage on our last shot. Now we'll use Heavy as an example here because I want to, and I also think he's the most interesting one for this. The Heavy has a base HP of 350. So 350 minus 130 gives us 220, and we have to get rid of that 220 in 2 shots. And obviously the easiest way to do this is dividing 220 by 2, so it's 110 damage for the first 2 shots. And since each shot has a base damage of 104, the first tick is 5, which means it gets us up to 109, which is just barely not enough. So if we wait another tick to get us over 110, we should be good. So basically what that ends up looking like is your first shot, 1, 2. Your second shot, 1, 2. And then your third shot, just let it deal its optimal damage. Now just because this is technically optimal doesn't mean that it's actually practical. It's just more or less a way to show how this gun has to wait in order to deal fire damage. This gun is more akin to the light double barrel than its other medium counterpart. If you're even just a few feet away, there will be damage fall off, and since this min-max that we created is so precise, that means that you will have a hard time pulling this off unless you're right next to the enemy, and also if they're dumb enough not to shoot back at you. Another thing is that healing abilities will negate the burn damage of this gun significantly. And on top of what we already had, we just got 2 more healing abilities, which would make dealing fire damage with this gun a little bit worse. And I think it was a unintended nerf of this gun and pyro in general. But if you really want to lean into this, do hit and run. Get some damage in, disengage, come back, and deal more damage before the regen timer starts healing them again. That's what I mainly do in this game, but granted it's not with Cerberus most of the time. It's mainly with M11, but you can do it with Cerberus and it will work well for that. So with that all being said, what is the best way to get a kill with this gun? So on heavy, a much more quick kill is just firing all 3 of your shots and following up with a melee. Because the amount of burn damage that does do, and the base damage from just spamming your gun, does get them low enough to just like wall up them with your quick melee. And on light, hitting 2 shots is just a guaranteed kill most of the time. And you can also, if you want, hit your shot and then do a quick melee, it should also get them as well. And on medium, you can do something similar to what we talked about with the min-max on heavy. You can get them killed in 2 shots if you do a shot, 1, 2, and then another shot. But you're most likely gonna be spamming all 3 of your shots, or do 2 shots and a quick melee. But we gotta move on to other things now. It's now time for the less useful but more mind-boggling exploit that makes perfect sense and absolutely 0 sense at the same time. I need to turn on my AC. I'm gonna go do that. I know it picks up on the mic. I'm just sweating balls right now. I wonder if it's gonna pick up on the mic to start up. Hold on. Try listening to this. Did that pick up? So not only is fire damage on the Cerberus not guaranteed because it doesn't stack, but it also doesn't activate at far ranges. This is the distance we found where the burn damage of the gun doesn't activate, and yes, I am running this game at max FOV. Now, why does this happen? This could be for a couple different reasons. It might be tied to how much damage you deal to the target, so since the Cerberus does so little damage at longer ranges, it just doesn't activate. It could also be tied to pellet count, since more pellets are obviously going to miss at longer range. Both of these theories are supported by the fact that shooting the second shot at range will deal fire damage, meaning that either enough damage was dealt or enough pellets hit to trigger it. But both of these ideas just don't really sit right with me. In my last video covering this gun, we tested to see if the fire damage didn't activate at range because you didn't deal enough damage to it, and we tested that by placing a turret, dealing damage with the turret, and then shooting the Cerberus. It wasn't the best way to test it looking back on it, and I wanted to do the experiment again, but I just didn't know what to do to trigger it. And then one day I was doing some, mindless labor at work, and I was like, wait, hold on a second. Maybe instead of it being tied to damage, it's tied to its elemental damage. See where I'm going with this? So my friend and I set up a second experiment. We set up a barricade behind me, so I couldn't accidentally lose my spot. I could hold S and I would just stay right there, basically guaranteeing where I was standing while we tested the distance where fire damage just falls off for the Cerberus, like I mentioned earlier. And then we set up a barricade behind my friend so that his distance can be locked in as well, so that we wouldn't lose our place if we had to move around a bit, which we did. We set up a barricade to his left, and basically what the plan was is I would throw a pyro grenade at the barricade to the left while he was standing there. He would move over to the other barricade, so we knew this was the range where damage fall off would happen, and then I would shoot him after the last ticks of the pyro ended to see if that would start the Cerberus again. And here's how it went.
Ready when you
throw
are.
gas in 3, 2, 1.
What? So what? Before what?
Wait, hold on a second. Okay.
What? Oh, am I too close?
You might be too close. Oh, dang it.
Oh, dang it.
There we go. Okay.
Okay.
We'll try it again.
All right, let's do pyro.
I'll do pyro again. I'm gonna give it a couple of seconds so you can regen.
I'm good.
And that won't be a factor. I'm gonna throw the pyro grenade in 3, 2, 1. It still works.
What? Okay, now don't move. Okay, or move. That's fine.
Oh, okay. I'm not moving.
Now,
I have moved.
give it a second and try and shoot me again.
I'm gonna do it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
Nope.
All right.
So it works with the pyro.
All right. So are we doing gas again then?
We're doing gas again, yeah. We also tested gas and all the other elemental stuff we could think of, but only the pyro grenade worked. So that means that the Cerberus fire damage isn't caused by how much damage is dealt or how many pellets hit. It's due to how many stacks of fire damage there are on the player. And I don't exactly know how that works, I just know that's how it works with the Cerberus. So the pyro grenade did enough burn damage just to jumpstart the first shot of the Cerberus, which would explain why the second shot seems to deal burn damage. The first shot acts like the pyro in this scenario, and it adds just a little bit of fire stacks to the enemy character, whatever it shows to acknowledge that it was dealt fire damage, and then the second shot will activate it. So you might be asking, why is this a thing? Why can't it just, work at longer ranges? This seems kind of dumb. I would agree with you, and again, I don't know why this is a thing. Why can't it just work, normally? I couldn't tell you. The only reason I can think of off the top of my head is that they were like, well, the fire damage will do 26 damage. That might be a bit much at range. Maybe tone it down a bit. I don't know. But they could have just nerfed the fire damage at range to maybe instead of like 5, they take it down to 4. Something like that instead of just like completely eliminating the fire damage. You know what I'm saying? So in my first video on this gun, which is when it just came out, I said that the devs should invest more into the fire damage of the gun to make it better. People didn't seem to like the damage of the gun at the time, and I said maybe you could buff the fire damage so it could work at range, so that maybe the fire damage would actually be able to stack. Something like that. And I also said maybe the Cerberus should work with goo and gas, more effectively, so you would be able to one-shot the gas, you would be able to burn goo regardless of who placed it. But what they ended up doing was just buffing the gun. And over time, apparently, it seemed to be overperforming. Who would have thought? Because at the time, it was bringing down a light to 11 health, and I was like, that just doesn't seem like it needs a buff. I think there's other things you could do, but it got a buff, and now they're nerfing it with pellet count, and it does significantly less damage now because of it. So, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. But either way, if you like the video and want to support the channel, subscribing is the best way to do so. I'm planning on making another finals video and possibly a non-finals video. I'll have to see how that goes. And hopefully they'll come out a bit quicker than this one. But anyways, thank you all for watching. See you later.